Most people think the most profitable products in history were oil, gold, or technology. They're wrong. The most profitable product ever created doesn't come from the ground. It doesn't require factories. It doesn't even require innovation. It is sold every day to billions of people without them realizing they're buying it. That product is debt. Debt doesn't produce anything tangible, yet it generates more wealth than any industry humanity has ever built. It has funded wars, collapsed empires, reshaped governments, and quietly transferred trillions upward, all while being marketed as opportunity, progress, and responsibility. And the most disturbing part? Debt wasn't an accident. It was engineered. To understand modern money, you have to understand why debt became the ultimate business model, and why the system now depends on keeping people permanently indebted. Debt begins as a promise. You borrow today, you repay tomorrow. But hidden inside that promise is the real mechanism of power: interest. Interest turns time into profit. The longer the future exists, the more money flows to the creditor. Ancient societies understood this danger instinctively. In Mesopotamia, debts were recorded on clay tablets, but they were also periodically erased. Leaders declared debt jubilees because they knew something crucial. When obligations pile up too high, societies break. The Hebrew tradition mandated debt forgiveness every 50 years for the same reason. Debt was seen as corrosive. Left unchecked, it didn't just impoverish individuals, it destabilized entire civilizations. Early societies treated debt like fire, useful but dangerous. Modern systems treat it like oxygen. The turning point came when elites realized something revolutionary. Instead of erasing debt, they could monetize it. In medieval Europe, the Catholic Church officially banned usury. Charging interest was considered immoral, but merchants didn't stop lending. They simply disguised it. Loans were renamed trade contracts. Interest was hidden inside fees, penalties, and exchange rates. By the Renaissance, banking families like the Medici discovered that lending didn't just generate money, it generated leverage. Kings needed loans to fight wars. Popes needed credit to build cathedrals. Merchants needed capital to expand trade. And whoever controlled the debt controlled the decisions. Power was shifting away from land and armies and toward balance sheets. But the real breakthrough came when debt fused with the state. In the 17th century, the Dutch Republic pioneered a radical idea. Governments could sell debt to their own citizens. Bonds could be traded, speculated on, inherited. War no longer depended on gold reserves. It depended on selling the future. England perfected this system with the creation of the Bank of England in 1694. National debt became permanent. Governments no longer aimed to repay it, only to roll it over forever. This changed everything. States gained endless funding, bankers gained guaranteed returns, and debt became the backbone of empire. From that moment on, wars, colonization, and expansion were financed not by wealth, but by promises. As capitalism industrialized, debt trickled downward. Factories were built on loans. Railroads were financed with bonds. Workers earned wages from debt-funded companies, then borrowed themselves to survive. By the 20th century, debt was no longer reserved for kings and governments. It was rebranded for the masses: mortgages, car loans, credit cards, student debt. Debt was no longer shameful. It was marketed as adulthood: buy now, pay later. Enjoy life today, let the future handle the cost. And for banks, this was perfection. Unlike physical products, debt didn't need inventory. It didn't need innovation. It didn't need growth, just continuation. Every interest payment became a quiet transfer of wealth, repeated month after month, year after year. Debt wasn't meant to be paid off quickly, it was meant to last. By the mid-20th century, debt had become global policy. Institutions like the IMF and World Bank were created under the language of development and stability. But in practice, they transformed debt into a tool of discipline. Countries could borrow, but only on terms written by creditors. Budgets were rewritten, public assets were privatized, sovereignty quietly eroded. Debt no longer just extracted money, it dictated policy. At the same time, households were being pulled deeper into the system. Home ownership was framed as a dream, but only through decades of payments. Consumer credit expanded even as wages stagnated. Debt filled the gap between reality and aspiration, and the system learned to depend on it. Then came financial engineering. Debt itself became a commodity. Loans were bundled, sliced, resold. Risk wasn't eliminated, it was hidden. By the early 2000s, vast markets existed that produced nothing but debt instruments. Wall Street shifted from financing production to manufacturing credit. When the system finally snapped in 2008, it exposed the truth. Debt had been stretched beyond reality. Millions lost homes and savings. Banks were rescued. And the lesson was not restraint, but expansion. More debt was created to save a system addicted to it. Today, global debt exceeds $300 trillion. That number is not a warning sign. It is the business model. Governments rely on borrowing to function. Corporations use debt to inflate stock prices. Households depend on credit to maintain living standards. Without constant borrowing, the system stalls. Debt is no longer a bridge, it is the foundation. And now, with digital currencies and algorithmic credit systems, debt is evolving again, becoming programmable, traceable, enforceable in real time. Efficiency for creditors, less flexibility for debtors. The most profitable product in history is being upgraded. So what is the real lesson? Debt is not neutral. It is not natural. It is not inevitable. It is a carefully constructed machine designed to turn the future into profit and keep wealth flowing upward. Understanding this doesn't require fear. It requires clarity. Financial freedom doesn't come from perfect timing or predictions. It comes from recognizing the systems you are operating inside and minimizing dependence on mechanisms designed to extract from you over time. History doesn't repeat itself exactly, but the pattern is always there, and the people who recognize it early are never the ones paying the highest price. If this gave you a new perspective, subscribe. History has the answers, and I'll show you where to look.